Hey everyone, welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into a super dynamic astrological placement, Rahu in the third house. In Vedic astrology, Rahu is all about our worldly desires, our obsessions, and basically the areas where we naturally just want to break the rules. And the third house, that's your self-effort, your communication, and your courage. So when you smash those two together, it creates this wildly interesting psychological mirror. We're going to unpack exactly what that means for you and how this placement actually plays out in the real world. Are you fearless, or are you simply attracted to risk? Seriously, just pause for a second and let that sink in, because this is the very first major prediction for this placement. Folks with Rahu in the third house possess this highly unusual courage. They are completely drawn to attempt things that everyone else actively runs away from. But the core question you've got to ask yourself with this energy is about your true motivation. Like, are you genuinely acting out of a place of deep fearlessness, or are you just chasing the dopamine hit of a risky situation? It's a really fine line, and honestly, taking a hard look at your own nature is step one as we unpack the rest of these predictions.
All right, let's dive right in. Chapter 1, the bold communicator.
So as we get into this, the first thing you'll notice is how the disruptive, expansive energy of Rahu completely transforms the way a person speaks, writes, and shares their ideas. If you have this placement, you figure out pretty quickly that words aren't just for casual chit-chat. Communication actually becomes a powerful tool for influence. You're using your words actively, like leverage. You just sort of intuitively understand the mechanics of persuasion. You can turn the gears of language to shape opinions, navigate really complex social structures, and gain massive influence in your circles. Your voice isn't just a medium, it's a meticulously crafted instrument. And there's a really fascinating duality here, informing people versus captivating them. This is literally the ultimate test for the third house Rahu individual. Look, anyone can stand up and read off a list of facts to inform a crowd, right? But do you just share the facts, or do you use that innate energy of yours to absolutely mesmerize your audience? The danger here is tipping over into manipulation, but the higher manifestation, that is profound, captivating leadership. You have the power to enchant people. You just have to choose how you're going to wield it. Because Rahu is a natural rebel against tradition, this energy almost always creates a bold, totally unconventional communication style. You are simply not going to sound like everyone else. You might throw in some striking metaphors, make super provocative statements, or take a completely unexpected angle just to prove your point. And this unique way of speaking ensures you always stand out from the crowd. It makes it nearly impossible for people to ignore what you have to say. But you really have to ask yourself, are you expressing originality, or are you just provoking reactions? It is so incredibly easy for this bold communication style to devolve into stirring the pot purely for the attention, right? Like, are you speaking your authentic, deeply original truth, or are you just tossing verbal fireworks into the room because you like to watch people jump? Authentic expression is the real goal here, not just blind provocation.
Moving right along to Chapter 2, courage and calculated risks.
So life drastically rewards taking calculated risks over sitting back and waiting for luck to magically arrive. Like we mentioned earlier, unusual courage is a total hallmark here. You are not meant to be a passive passenger in your own life. The universe actually demands that you take action. When you lean into that courage and step out into the unknown, even when it's terrifying, that is exactly when you hit the jackpot. Passive waiting, it just doesn't work for you. And because of that intense risk-taking energy, entrepreneurship and self-made success become incredibly strong desires. You have this burning inner drive to build something from the absolute ground up. The whole idea of being a tiny cog in someone else's giant machine, yeah, that's usually deeply unfulfilling for Rahu in the third house. You want your own domain, your own rules, and you want to know for sure that your success is entirely a product of your own grit and self-effort. But let's get real for a second and ask another critical question. Are you actually creating independence, or are you just resisting guidance? It's really vital to be honest about the root motivation behind those entrepreneurial dreams. Building your own empire is fantastic, but sometimes the shadow side of this placement is just a stubborn refusal to listen to anyone else. You've got to make sure your drive for self-made success is about true independence, and not just a rebellious refusal to accept valuable mentorship from others. Okay, let's jump to Chapter 3, Influence and Digital Mastery. Social media, marketing, digital platforms, networking, these become major life themes. And if you think about it, it makes total sense. The third house is communication, and Rahu is this expansive, boundary-breaking energy. So the internet is literally the ultimate playground for this placement. Your natural persuasive abilities find their absolute perfect, most scalable outlet in the digital landscape. You just naturally get how to capture attention and build a network online. But that brings up a massive trap: building influence versus chasing attention. When you have this natural talent to go viral or capture a massive audience, you have to ask, what are you doing it for? Are your digital efforts creating a lasting legacy, a meaningful brand, true influence? Or are you just feeding an endless, ego-driven need for validation and superficial attention? It is so important to anchor your digital presence in something real. And this also requires a really critical evaluation of your network. Because you thrive in fields that need persuasion, you're naturally going to accumulate a ton of contacts. But ask yourself, are your connections creating actual opportunities, or are they just distractions? Are you surrounding yourself with people who elevate your goals and share your vision, or do you just maintain this massive roster of acquaintances that ultimately drain your time and keep you from focusing on your true path? Now, another fascinating trait here is your insatiable thirst for new knowledge. You're constantly seeking out new skills, but you have got to differentiate between mastering skills versus just endlessly collecting them. The shadow side of this placement is becoming a perpetual dabbler. You learn just enough about a topic to sound like an expert at a dinner party, and then boom, you immediately move on to the next shiny thing. The real challenge is forcing yourself to stick with something long enough to achieve true mastery. Which brings us to Chapter 4, Restlessness and Relationships. Shifting from the outside worlds of career and digital influence, let's look at the internal kinetic energy of this placement, because it definitely spills over into your closest earthly ties. This placement generates a constant physical and mental itch. Restlessness pushes you toward frequent movement and change. You might find yourself constantly rearranging the furniture, changing your career path, picking up new hobbies, or even just moving to new cities all the time. There is this undeniable buzzing energy that makes the whole idea of a completely static, unchanging life feel incredibly suffocating to you. So you really have to confront this. Are you exploring life, or are you avoiding stillness? Is all this constant movement a genuine, joyful quest for discovery and new experiences? Or are you running? Because sometimes constant change is just an elaborate escape mechanism, so you don't have to sit in silence and finally face yourself. Learning to find peace in stillness is a huge life lesson here. Now let's talk about family dynamics. In astrology, the third house specifically governs siblings. So when Rahu sits here, it virtually guarantees that your relationships with your siblings are going to be unusual, karmic, or complicated. These are definitely not your standard breezy familial ties. These relationships will be intense. You might have periods of deep estrangement or incredible closeness, and they are highly educational, serving as major catalysts for your personal growth. Frame that sibling dynamic as a lifelong classroom. The ultimate test here is learning cooperation versus competition. It is so ridiculously easy for Rahu in the third house to view siblings as rivals, but the goal of this karmic tie is to evolve past that endless rivalry. Are you using these complex family relationships to build mutual support and learn how to truly cooperate, or are you staying locked in a childish competition for dominance? And finally, Chapter 5, The Path to Growth. I absolutely love this summary from our source. Listen to this. The soul grows through courage, communication, experimentation, and the willingness to take the road less traveled. That just synthesizes all 10 of these predictions so perfectly. Your path, it isn't supposed to be standard. It's not supposed to be quiet. Your spiritual growth literally depends on your willingness to experiment, to speak up boldly, and to bravely forge your own totally unique path in the world, no matter how unconventional it might seem to everyone else. You have all the tools. You've got the magnetism, the courage, the voice. The only question left is, are you ready to take the road less traveled?